Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. In this episode of the Farmall Super C Restoration, I'm going to get the sheet metal all cleaned up, repaired, dents fixed, fit on the tractor, painted. And at the end of the last video, I said, well, I'm not sure if I should put the fuel tank on and start it up and then do the rest. And I thought, you know, it'll be a good way for me to kind of push on the sheet metal if I say, well, after I get the sheet metal on, I can start it up. And so I decided to do the sheet metal first. First, let me show you what I'm working with here. I spent about an hour yesterday and cleaned up the fuel tank, which was really easy. The paint came off of it nice. So that doesn't have any dents, and I think it's ready to go. I also started cleaning up the hood and got the top cleaned off. It's got the usual problems here around the exhaust pipe. This hole's been rubbed on or buggered up or something. Not as bad as some I've seen, but this is going to require some repair. And then it's got some small dents here and there. There's a dent, and I just run my hand over them. Oh, I can feel a dent right there. There's a dent right there. So the usual. I'm going to have to flatten these out and put some body filler in them. Here's the underside of the hood. I clean these up and paint them just like the outside because I know if I don't do it, I'm going to know I didn't do a complete job. So that'll get done too. And then here's the front cowl. I already detached the screen. These are lots of fun to get out. I got a new one for it. And it's the usual here too. These bars, which are used to secure the screen, they're all bent up. They've come loose. They're going to need to be tack welded into place. This one's loose on the bottom, but okay here. And then on the front side, it's the usual stuff again. These bars are bent up. This side's gotten caved in, and I'm going to have to flatten out all this or bring it back to shape and try and get it as good as I can. Up top here, we got a big dent right there and some little dents. I think somebody was driving drunk on this tractor. Wasn't me. Well, let's see what we can do with this. I made a video on doing this grill on the MD grill, and I'm not a body person, but I just take my time. And I have a set of dies here that are made for this grill. You can get them lots of places online. There's, I think, several makers of them. And they fit in these bars, and there's kind of the female die, and then there's a male punch that goes in. Let's get the worst stuff out first here. The worst dents. Oh my gosh, I think Hillary was driving drunk on this. What the heck? Ah, that's going to be a pain. Straighten these really crooked ones. This die fits around the back. And then this punch will fit it into the die. To straighten that. I got this side pretty straightened out. It had a wave in the bars. And then sometimes this will push. This has got a big saddle in it, and sometimes it'll push it back up if you go and you start straightening these out first, which is really fussy work, but that's what I'm going to try. I got a good line up here. I got this straightened up enough to take it out and clean it off and get it to bare metal, and then I can finish. That saddle that was in there is mostly gone now. It just needs to be flattened out where it ripples. Here's a little update. The next day I cleaned this all off and got it to bare metal. And here's the other side. It's not perfect on the inside, but it's good enough for repainting. You can see it's still got lots of issues. So what I'm doing is I got it hung from wire and clamped on the bottom so I can get access easily to both sides. And with a hammer and dolly, I can start to flatten first along here where it's really bent up, and then work my way out. And sometimes I do the ribs too. It all just depends on how it flattens out. I'm tapping away here. Let me show you what I'm dealing with. See all these ripples that go down through here? This thing's been bashed up a whole bunch of times. So I'm just working my way down. I started up here and I'm down to this bar. Just straightening everything as I go. She's getting there. I just got a few final dents here. Get this big one up here, which is really hard to get at. Well, I'm gonna have to take you down. Thank goodness for the heat today. We're in the middle of a ice storm. It's gonna change over to 6 inches or so of snow later on today. Here's what I wound up with. It's got a lot of ripple in here that's going to have to be smoothed out with a little bit of body filler. It's just part of the game here, where it got stove in before. But I got all the bars straightened out. And I look at it, you know, from profile here. Put a ruler on it. I believe this line's supposed to be straight. And she's back to a straight line. And then I also look at the lines like along here to make sure they're straight. This line along here, and you look up the bars. That one's a little bit in there. I'll have to fix that. Bars on the other side. It's certainly not perfect, but is it good enough for an old tractor? I think so. Let's put it on and see how it fits. These are always a tight squeeze. Put this fuel tank support onto the block temporarily. Now we can see how the hood fits. I don't have the clamps on it. I took them off, so we're just going to eyeball it here. Mainly what I'm looking for on this is how these holes line up. We got 3 of them here. And that one is okay. That one's great. There. Then the exhaust, I'm surprised. It looks like it's fairly on center. I'm not sure why this rubbed over here, but I think that if I clean this up, I can actually get a nice circle out of this without having to weld in a patch, which is what I thought I was going to have to do. I sure do love the look of these tractors, though, when I do this and they have the silver sheet metal. I could think about clear coating that and keeping it. Nah. It's cool looking, though. It's hard to tell without clamping the hood down how it'll sit, so I put the hood clamps back in and we'll put her back on. Now we get a better idea. Everything lines up pretty good. I mean, just as well as you're going to expect for the loose tolerances they had for sheet metal on these things. This air cleaner needs to be adjusted, but we know it goes backwards and forwards, so I can center it in this hole and get it to where it needs to be. This vent and oil fill is fine. This hole's good. This exhaust is off center. You can see how much of a gap is there and how small the gap is there. And I'm debating whether to weld a patch in here and tighten up this hole a little bit, or to just round it off where it's been eaten on. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I guess while I think about that, I got some dents to hammer out on this hood. A few. Well, at least this isn't nearly as bad as the radiator grill was. It's the next day, and yep, snow came. Although, there wasn't 6 inches, more like 3. And the next job I got is to weld these back in. Now, this one here looks like it got stretched, as this side was the worst side for dents, so nothing lines up. So I got to deal with that. This one over here just needs a little resecuring. So what I'm going to do is cut this off where it got stretched and then reposition it. Then I can tack this one in, tack the other one in, and then weld the 2 pieces together. Next we have the screen that goes on here, and this is a special order thing. It's 5 squares per inch, to be correct anyway, and it's sold in, I think, one size fits all for everything from the cub or up to the M, so we have to trim it to fit. And I've got this thing trimmed to rough size before I start securing it in. It's got to bend over these 2 bars that I spent some time working on, so I'm going to form that in before I secure it at all. Then we can pull it back off and bend back up these little doohickeys on the edge, which secure the screen. And hopefully none of them will break. Sometimes they're so rusty that there's no other way around it, and then you have to spot weld them into place or something like that. Improvise. Then we can roll this screen right down over those clips. You want it to be as tight to the grill as you can. To think, you know, I could be inside working on cross stitch right now. Instead, look at these life decisions I've made. Over the tabs in the center here, these are new clips which go on the bars, and I'll spot weld them on to hold them in. They get crimped first. These kinds of pliers are handy water pump pliers because they'll pinch on the end, whereas the other ones won't. The original clips on these were pinch welded. I can't do that, so I'm just going to weld them on the edge. And the final job is to cut the excess off of this. Originally it lapped over these seams where the 3 pieces go together, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut it off here. Here we go. That job's done. There's the front. One of the things that I struggle with, is this screen is never straight when you get it. It's always got waves in it, and I just figured that, you know, you don't really see it once it's painted that it's got a little wave in the back of it. Now let's take a closer look at this hood. Looks to me like I can clean this up and bring it back to circular. It'll be a little bigger than it originally was, but I don't think it'll be that noticeable. I think that's good. If I slide the muffler down to here anyway, you won't really see the hole that much because the muffler's going to pop out, come up. It's a little bit bigger than it probably was originally, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Okay, well, I've been working on this sheet metal for about a week, off and on, and today we're going to get her done. You've seen this before, only now, well, I can take this off. Now things are bright and shiny. Okay. She looks nice, I think. I'm proud. This big spot here, remember how it was all caved in here and I bondoed it? Well, I can't tell. I like that, although I missed this little dent down here. Oh well. This will help to, you know, draw the eye away from that little dent. We'll get on there right. Here's the fuel tank mount. In the fuel tank, the battery cable that runs from the battery here over to the starter gets held on by this wire clip, which goes on this side of the tank. So we're just going to put it in here loose till we get the battery cable on. That's good enough. I have a lifetime supply of these triple baffle fuel caps from the International Harvester Settlement way back when, because of the old short gas caps that would leak when fuel splashed around the tank. And each one of these comes with this handy dandy tag, which I thought about sticking on the side of the tractor, that says, "Warning, a fuel fire can burn you." Did not know that. Nope. And as if that weren't enough to begin with, they even give you an instruction sheet on where to place the sticker. I guess I was wrong. I guess it goes back here someplace. Next we have a new sediment bowl. I'm just going to leave this loose until I get the fuel line for this and hook it up. We'll put her on there though. There we go. I don't like that very much. I don't like that. I didn't use a regular twirly pipe cutter on this, the kind you spin around the pipe, because I didn't have clearance for one large enough to cut a 2-inch pipe between the other things sticking up, the oil fill and the air cleaner. So that worked fine. I want to show you something here. I guess, well, this whole video is about showing you something, but this is the muffler that came off the tractor. It was on there when I bought it, plus probably a few decades longer than that. I believe this is a Stanley muffler. It looks like a Stanley muffler to me, and something has become really important to me the longer I drive these old Farmalls. And that thing that's become important is getting the factory original sound out of these old girls. Now, if you look down this muffler, if you can see in there, there's baffles. See those little roundy thingies sticking out all in rows down the middle? And they're just openings that go into the outer shell. Hope I can get it so you can see it. So I went looking for a new muffler. I couldn't just clean this up like I did with the MD. The MD had a baffled muffler too, and I'll tell you what happens if you don't use a baffled muffler. If you say go to Tractor Supply and get one of their cheapy Stanley mufflers, the tractor barks. It's got a real harsh sound compared to that smooth sound that this Super C always had. So I went to Steiner and I bought this factory correct muffler, and it's quite a bit different. See how fat the outlet is on this one? It's 2 inches, same as the inlet. This one's 1.25 inches, and it's got these more rounded tops. It's even got the international part number, it's supposed to be reproduction, and they said on the website it's internally baffled. But I'm a little baffled. Because when I look in here, can you guys see that? You probably can't. There's some kind of baffle in there, but it's not a baffle that pokes into the center pipe. It's just holes. There's no obstruction in the center. So it's not the same as the old one I had on there. Looks pretty cool in my opinion. I think these little details like the rounded caps and the smaller outlet, they make a difference to a guy like me. On the tractor forums I've read over years, I spend 15 minutes to a half an hour on 2 tractor forums every morning. Many discussions about these mufflers and baffled versus not baffled, and whether they came from the factory with baffles or without, and what the baffles were like, and it just all leaves me baffled, but I think that this one will sound better than the cheapie. We'll see. And the reason I cut the manifold pipe off down lower is because before this would have stuck up 2 inches, and it looked kind of goofy to me with all that pipe sticking up. I wanted the muffler to sit kind of down almost flush with this, and I've got an original style, old style muffler clamp coming in the mail, along with vinyl cut decals that should be here any day. And as far as rain caps go, clickety clackety clickety, I don't like that very much. I am a tin can guy. I put can down over. Tin can is actually a better watertight seal in my opinion than a cap, which may get bent by a tree branch or something, not be quite square on, or the wind blows rain in. So I don't like the appearance and the sound of them either. So tin can it is, stored inside of course. And finally, I got the light bulb gaskets, headlight gaskets in stock. In the mail, whatever. Goofy me, I put these on the wrong way. That's not the first time I've done that. Goes around the light bulb. That's where the gasket goes. These got a separate ground strap on them, and that used to go outside the case and hook onto that screw, but this ground strap isn't long enough, so I had to improvise here and put a nut on the inside of the screw to hook the ground strap onto on the inside of the light, which is not the easiest to put together because I wanted the head of the screw on the outside and not the nut so that it still looked original. So there you go. The problems I make for myself are many. Technically it's a flange nut. Well, you weren't supposed to do that. Straighter side goes toward the back. I'm just going to go ahead and do this now because it's always required. When I did this on the MD, I got a whole bunch of people telling me, oh, you should put Vaseline on that or something, corrosion inhibitor, and I thought, well, that's kind of goofy. There's at least 100 bolts on here that got bare spots underneath them. Sometimes I think people overthink things too much. It's been my experience anyway. Said the man who fussed over the brand of muffler that he bought. Well, stay. You're not going to stay. You want it to point down. I don't know. I'll probably have to take these to a shop to get them aligned. Of course, the reason I cleaned that off is because I only got one connection here. The positive connection. The ground goes to frame and back to the battery that way. So we got to ground the headlight body to the frame of the tractor. That's it for the sheet metal on the Super C. It was a lot of work, but it sure does change the appearance of the tractor. I was thinking about it while I was doing the sheet metal, and I think I'm going to finish this tractor before I do first startup. So I got to do the seat and finish up the hydraulics to the back, put the fast hitch on, put the wheel weights on, put the decals on, and then we'll start it up. So it's going to be a few videos yet. Have patience. I think it will be more rewarding that way. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. I think waiting until you're done to start you up is a fitting and honorable way to do it. Yep.